Hey everyone, welcome all our Same Dad podcast fans. We're back again for another action-packed episode, some whimsical stories and some pearls of wisdom from myself, Jesse, and my sister Kellie. How are you doing today, Kellie?
Good. How are you doing, Jesse?
Oh, pretty good. Hanging in there, just staying busy, prepping for a family trip back home to the Hoosier State to attend a family reunion.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The Fish family get together. I don't know when the last time this ever happened, so it is kind of a special event.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're looking forward to it too.
Yeah, it's real easy to once I hit 40 years old, it just kind of is you see a aunt or a uncle or a cousin, and then you think, man, when's the last time I saw them? And it's like you could easily say 5 years, 8 years, so you just never know. You just never know how often the opportunity will present itself, and it's definitely a motivator to get there and attend and see some of those folks.
Yeah, so I know you were home not too long ago for other reasons, but when is the last time? I mean, you got to hang out with some of this family. Has this been pre-COVID or?
Um, I got to see uh Aunt Aunt Connie stopped in. She was over in the Iowa area for work, and she stopped in here I think a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken. As far as the rest of them, as far as cousins and uncles and things, I think it was sadly, I believe it was at both of the grandparents' funerals. I think was the last time that we were all a unified force. So that would have been, I don't know. I hate to say that I don't know, but probably 5, 6 years ago for Grandpa's funeral, and couple of 2 or 3 years before that for Grandma's. I think that's the last time that everybody's been at full force. I mean, we're not going to be at full attendance for this one, but there'll be enough people there. There'll be some folks I haven't seen in a really long time. And then even then, there was a lot of people at those funerals, so I didn't get to talk to everybody. So it'll be nice. Just kick back, have a beer, and eat a burger, and just chat a little bit, see how everybody's doing.
Yeah, I would say even if 50% show up, that's quite a group considering that the original family was about 7 kids strong, and then each of them had an average of 1 to 3 kids. So pretty big family, pretty good odds. So yeah, I think one of the last times I remember being with that side of the family was I think when you came home as a surprise on Christmas. So you just had the baby, and your folks had no idea that you were heading home, and we crafted this elaborate story, or this, we hid the fact that you were coming, and we got it on video, and your mom just about had a heart attack, I think, but seeing her grandbaby for the first time, and that's the last time I think that I was in the full group. So it'll be nice to see everyone. I know, we've kept in touch to some degree on Facebook, and some of that has helped, but it doesn't replace being in person and being able to, like you said, have a few beers and just kind of cut up with each other. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Yeah, I remember that, making that trip to Indiana in December, and it was, gosh, it was freezing cold, and I remember changing Eli's diaper at a rest stop about 2 hours into the trip, thinking, man, this is crazy. but we did it.
I remember. I mean, I had really a small part to play other than just kind of running interference and, hey, look this way while you guys kind of inched your way home. But I can remember I could feel the buildup as you were coming, and I think it was you're a couple miles away, and you were still trying to check in. Is it still a surprise? Do they have any idea? And all that pressure to know, like, what you make it like 20 feet from the house, and somehow it gives it away. But I could tell that it was very important for that surprise to be maintained, and I don't know how we pulled it off, but you made it, and that was a great memory for us that year.
Yeah, even right down to the very end of the execution, like they just happened to be in the garage there, so like they were even like physically stowed away to where we could make our way through the house and then out to the garage through the door. It's like all the way to the very last steps. They didn't know. So that was pretty neat.
Yeah, if I remember your mom, I'm sure she had some kind of explicative, just because when she's shocked or thrilled or excited, she just kind of bursts out with something. But like a surprise party reaction, it was so good. Perfect, really.
I think Dad's reaction was, "What the hell are you doing out on these roads?" I think that was his, because the weather was bad, and I think they were going to set that one out. And I think seems like you guys had to swoop in and offer him a ride to get him to be out there.
We did end up riding together.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. There was so much possible outcomes, and it worked all the way through.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that. No wonder I felt so much pressure. My own family was like, "Mom, are you sure we should go? It's blizzard conditions. I gotta reunite a family. Get in the car."
Yeah. Yeah, gosh, those narrow roads in Indiana too. Like, I guess I don't know why the roads are so narrow there. It's like they build them for Model T and never. It's like all the farmers won't relinquish 2 extra feet on either side to make them roads wider.
Hey, I don't know much about cash crops or what they're getting on their returns, but yeah, that must be pretty valuable strip of property or land. So doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I remember getting that phone call. My parents are calling me, and I'm driving through Anderson. They're telling me how the weather is there, like I was still in Omaha.
Yeah,
that was funny.
I couldn't remember. You were coming. Yeah, you were coming from Omaha. So what kind of drive is that?
Boring. The drive from Omaha to Des Moines is torture. And then once you get past that, it's a little bit better. Some wise ass wanted to put a mile marker sign every mile between Omaha and Des Moines, just to remind you, So it was that's the toughest stretch, and then it's not too bad really. It was I-80, and then I think you get on 74 and head on in there, but it's a long haul, but it's not terrible.
Well, so I'm laughing because part of the other part of my involvement in that planning was to find you a hotel to stay in.
Yeah, you took my word verbatim. I said, "I don't give a shit. Just get me a bed and a shower." Buddy, that's what it had. It wasn't like it was one of them hotels that probably changes its name every 3 months.
Truth. This is the truth, though. Unfortunately, where we live, there, for a certain price point, there's a certain set of hotels, and I knew which ones would be the best chance to bring a family into, really. So I went to like 3 or 4 in this one particular area, And man, everyone I walked in, it had like, just, I'm really picky about the sour carpet situation. Um, just, first impressions. And that particular one, I'll tell you, one of the reasons that I even considered it, because number one, they had no carpet. And to me, those have been some of the best roadside, really, motels to stay in when you're kind of doing it on a budget. So that's what it had going for it. And then the second thing is I walked into the reception area or whatever, the lobby, and they had this really, albeit strange, very sweet kind of shrine to the Air Force. Like somebody who was managing it or owned it was an Air Force veteran. So it just seemed like a sign to me. And the lady was really nice, and she let me look at 2 or 3 rooms. And so, I was nervous about it, and I knew there's a new baby, and Nicole's going to be like, "Oh my gosh, we can't stay here." But however long you stayed there, at least to get yourself squared away, and then I think you ended up staying with Dad a little bit that trip. But man, that was an experience. But I go by that hotel now, and sometimes it's overtaken by temporary workers that seem to like come and go a lot, or they're walking back and forth across Scatterfield to different restaurants and stuff. And I think, oh gosh, that's where Jess brought his new family to the America's best.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that room stayed warm. It was single digit temperatures outside, and I just cranked that heat up. Yeah. It was literally 2 beds and a shower. I don't know if it had a TV or not. I don't remember. But it did the job. It's all we needed.
Speaking of hotels, we both have done a little traveling in our time, and there was a period of time when our kids were in sports and we'd go to different tournaments. And one of the qualifiers or really requirements for staying in hotels was what kind of buffet it had. So I'm sure you've had your fair share of hotel buffet experiences.
Oh yeah. You gotta, if you don't have biscuits and gravy, get out of here. You're already behind. Like if you don't have the dry ass biscuits and those sausage patties that are about a 1/4 inch thick and some gravy to pour over the top, man, just you can, if I'm gonna go down there and just see some apples and granola bars, you can shove that. I want a hot pile of fatty grease to go with my morning Mountain Dew.
The funny thing about those is they give you just enough selection on some of those buffets to like pretend like, well, maybe I won't eat eggs in that rubbery sausage today. Maybe I'll get in the refrigerator case and I'll get 2 boiled eggs and a yogurt, and I'll eat some granola, and this is how I eat. And I do that every time. It's like, that's normally what I wouldn't eat. So I'm thinking, well, let me, keep up the appearances, and let me do something good for myself. So invariably I look across the table, and there's Seth with his mound of, as you say, hot grease pile. And I'm sitting there with my yogurt, and about 2 hours later, I'm hungry, But my kids always got into the flipped waffle machine. And of course, you have to stand there and monitor it so that they don't get burnt and they don't make a huge mess, and it never comes out the way you want it. And they always end up eating just half of it, and they want to go back for more of something else. So bringing kids along, while it's more affordable, sometimes makes it more of a hassle for that hotel buffet experience.
Yeah, if you go to a hotel in Texas, then waffle machines are shaped like the state of Texas.
Are you kidding?
You get a Texas-shaped waffle.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I doubt Rhode Island can do that. or Vermont. Hell, that's where the fuckers made syrup, and they probably ain't got their shit in the state shape.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And then,
remember.
yeah, go ahead.
I remember one time. I remember that trip I took my folks on when we went to Memphis, and we went to Memphis and Nashville. We just kind of hit the country music circuit there.
Mhm.
We were staying at a place in Memphis, just about a mile from Graceland, and me and the family had stayed there previous visits. Thought, okay, it's a good place to stay. So we take the folks there, and we walk in, and the lady is yelling at this employee. I don't know what language they were speaking, but they were yelling. And next thing I know, that dude's up in the dumpster, jumping up and down, trying to mush the trash. And we go to the room, and they had just paved the parking lot, so it stunk like a bunch of fumes and toxins. And I'll be damned, we got a first floor room, walking off the parking lot, but there's like a 3-inch gap under the door. So these fumes are blowing in this room the whole night. And then I go, one thing about me is my balls hang real low. I'm built like ET. So I got a sunken chest, big gut, no ass, and a giant nut sack. So I go to I go to take a shit in this toilet, and the fucking water is, there's like 5 gallons of water in this toilet, like it's up to the brim, like it's naturally resting like an inch under the lip of the toilet bowl. And I sit down, and my nuts get soaked, and this water's freezing. So I'm like, I can't shit. This water's ice cold, and my balls are in it. So I go. So it's about breakfast time. So me and the old man go down to the lobby. There's like 100 old ladies down there loving Elvis, and there's a bunch of memorabilia records and some ceramic Elvises, and they got like, the seats are painted up like a pink Cadillac and this and that. And while they're all waiting around, there wasn't enough food for everybody, and I had to shit real bad. I ended up crapping in the lobby there, paper thin door. I'm sure they all heard me because of the water in that toilet was real low. I could actually sit down on the damn toilet and take a shit. That was a nightmare. I was so embarrassed because we had such a. How can you go to a hotel and have such an awesome, pleasant experience, and then return to that hotel and it's the drizzled shits? Like, how can it manifest into such an opposite experience? It's the same damn building. I mean, how can it be that bad, on a different go? But it was. I was embarrassed because, I didn't want. That's kind of a rough area anyway, and that hotel left little to be desired on the second round.
Yeah, that's too bad. But
Yeah.
I am making a note here so that anytime I ever have to reserve a hotel for you, I may also have them check or show me the toilet water level. So
Yeah,
that
just get a bobber. My nut sack looks like a couple of cue balls in a Walmart bag.
Please, too much.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, so hotel stays can definitely be kind of a crapshoot. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So when you're here, now that COVID, well, that's another story, but in theory, COVID restrictions are lifted, and we're kind of getting back to some activities and things. Is there anything you hoping to do when you come back in town this next weekend?
Yeah, I was kicking a few ideas around. Nothing too extravagant. I was gonna, if we get into town at a decent time on Friday, I thought about maybe letting the folks watch the kiddo while me and the wife maybe go to Frisch's and grab a Frisch's Big Boy and
Okay.
some fries, and maybe I might actually go into Myers this trip, maybe Saturday morning, and walk around and look in there. Maybe, I don't know. I considered going to the races. I don't know yet. And I want to go visit the grandparents' grave sites. I've been meaning to do that the last couple of visits, and I don't know why. I guess it just, unfortunately, I guess it slipped my mind. I don't really have an excuse. The end of the trip would come near, and oh shit, I meant to go do that. So that's really it. Nothing too wild.
I was trying to somehow segue to the conversation that we we had kind of considered, and that was having sharing some memories of our trips to bowling alleys in our lifetime. So coming to a town like ours where there's not really a lot of, I mean, there is adult entertainment, and I don't mean that the way it sounds, but I mean, like, you know, other than going to bars and that sort of thing, it seemed like one of the few things you can do with families is going to the bowling alley. And here in the Midwest, as probably most places, there hasn't been a lot of updates of bowling alleys. They're kind of time capsules, both in, you know, I think their cleaning routines as well as their decor. And although I have to say, recently our local bowling alley did host one of the local or national junior tournaments recently. So we do have a bowling alley that is kind of recognized as a kind of an annex, an overflow to the Indianapolis bowling alleys where they typically will host these tournaments. So Anderson did get on the map for hosting a national bowling tournament recently. But I was thinking about my own experiences, you know, and that's just total. I mean, I can remember when my mom used to bowl in tournaments, and that was back when they would have a nursery literally in the bowling alley for anybody who wanted to come in. And I'm sure there was not any near the same safeguards as there are now. You know, like whoever was in there were probably older siblings of younger kids, or some of the tournament directors, their kids were stuck in there watching the younger kids. And so it was kind of melee, watching Mighty Mouse reruns and playing on, you know, toys that probably had death death trap toys that they didn't check or whatever. But I was thinking about it, and you know, you go through little towns now, they're just kind of, they stop in time. They look like they're from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I've never been. My highest score in bowling is probably about a 65 with bumpers. I mean, I just never. And it's so, bowling is. I don't know why it's so hard for me, because the concept is to do the same damn thing repeatedly. Like, it's not raining on you. It's not heavy winds. Nobody's like trying to tackle me. I'm not being guarded. I'm just rolling the ball down the lane, and I can't freaking do it. Like, it's the weirdest damn thing. And it's, yeah, so I bowl maybe once every 3 years when I have to. I dig the shoes. The shoes are pretty nice. But
yeah, that was the most exciting part for me as a kid. I swear if they would have let me bought a pair, I would have, because I there was a period in my life, probably as a older, mid to older teenager, I thought those were the coolest shoes to own. Those with, you know, rolling up some peg jeans and some kind of funky t-shirt with a bandana and those bowling shoes. Those, you know, I would have felt like right on.
yeah, Yeah, we used to do they still do, I think they call it cosmic bowling or something, where they make the
Yes,
lights funny and they have like a DJ and all that.
yes, they do. So they kind of have a hybrid of it's like a dance club slash bowling alley. Yes, they do.
I knew a lot of kids that grew up pretty much at the bowling alley.
Hmm.
I mean, that was their jam. Like their parents bowled and their uncle and whoever, and it was just their home away from home was that bowling alley. All the employees knew them, and they just kind of run around and be kids or whatever, and that was
In
just
some ways, yeah, in some ways it was a safe environment because I mean it was contained, your parents were right there, but it's like this weird amalgam of it's sports, but it's like an open bar and it's like an arcade. And I mean, it's really an environment all of its own. And you're right, there are certain people that's their environment. That's where they hung out. That's where they grew up. That's where they maybe got a part-time job, or at least learned some discipline, or at least some kind of schedule. Um, and I mean, it was a very popular thing back in the 80s, especially, and when I was young, and I happened to be helping my mom recently clean out her house. She's looking to move soon, and so I had to get up into the attic and retrieve some of these boxes from my childhood, and never thinking I would see them again. I didn't even remember they were up there. And amidst some of the things I found happened to be my old Cooper's Super Bowling shirt when I was in the
nice.
100 club. And as small as this looks, I bet I was about 8 or 9. And this is the back of it. So our bowling alley at that time was called Cooper's. Once I made it to the 100 score, then I got this t-shirt. But look at this in the front.
Nice. Tomorrow's bowlers today.
Who came up with that?
And put that on some buttons.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, it was a big deal, and to many still is, but I'm glad they're still here. I mean, you find yourself in a town with nothing to do, it's kind of a layover, it's rainy, if you had other plans, I mean, kind of an option might be to just go hang out and shoot a game of bowling and have a beer or two, or eat a pretzel, or play some video games. It's still an option. But yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
So what else do you want to talk about?
Well, I was going to mention, you mentioned they had a bar there. The local grocery store right across the street here where I'm living has a fully functioning bar in the grocery store. It's kind of odd, I
That
thought.
sounds awesome.
I mean, hey, let's have all the bros meet up at the grocery and get a little bit tipsy.
Do
Well,
some shopping.
you're just asking to be arrested. I mean, what could go wrong? I get fucked up at a grocery store. It's not like there's tomatoes and melons and shit I can pick up and throw, right? Or jump through. There's not displays of cereal I can dive through after, 6 shots of wild turkey.
Well, the irony to that is, while sitting at that bar, you may pay $4 for a 20-ounce light beer, but you could walk over 2 aisles and get 12 of them for at least, half the price point.
Yeah, can I just buy some beer and walk it over there and drink it?
Yeah, right. I'm sure that contributes to a little bit higher grocery bill. Get a little hungry, or you kind of vary off the grocery list that the wife sent you in for.
Yeah, they double dipped on us that day because we went into the grocery store to get groceries and we were famished, and they have a little eatery. So not only did they get my grocery money, but I paid for a meal there prior to my shopping. So they double dipped me, bastards.
That, I don't know how I feel about that. There's something, so I'm going to the grocery store, obviously to stock my house up with food. Yet while there, I'm hungry enough to eat a meal while I'm there. And how far away is this grocery from your place?
It's a stone's throw. It's literally across the street. I know it sounds like I that that's totally like slob move, but
No,
man, it was to my defense, that was a good burger. I didn't get hungry again until about 10 p.m. I busted out some cereal.
that's zero.
So it did the job, but man, them bastards doubling up on me.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea actually. I wonder if the concept was like in a department store where they would strategically put all these seats, and you'd be in Sears and you'd see some older gentleman holding a purse and some bags, and you knew his wife was in there trying on some clothes. Maybe it's the same concept. Whoever's sitting at the bar, the other person's out doing the shopping.
Yeah, it's they need a bar in Target.
Where don't they need one, really?
They put a damn iced tea shop in there. Put a bar in there.
Seems like Starbucks, they're kind of infiltrating certain places. We have a Starbucks in our grocery store, but it's really not that appealing to me. I'm not interested in spending that much on a coffee. But I guess that's kind of lost on me.
I used to on the tea till I ran out of money. So I couldn't. But yeah, I didn't get none of that fancy shit. I don't know how to order there. Flinny, Minnie, and Penny or something are the size of the drinks. I give me a large sweet tea. It kind of rocks their world a little bit because this dude just sachets up there and just wants the old fashioned sweet tea when they got 1,000 other options times 10.
Yeah.
Now you remember what sweet tea was? You put sugar and tea, and you give it to me.
Yeah, you definitely need to take a little crash course, or like Starbucks ordering for dummies before you get up there. I always had anxiety about like Jersey Mike's and different sandwich shops, and they even have placards up there that say, here's what you do first, pick your meat, and then it gives you these, and I still get it wrong. And I don't know how people know what they want when they get there. I'm reading and reading. Hell, I still read the McDonald's menu, and I've seen that since I was 6 or whatever.
Yeah. And you get a gun-ho bastard in Subway that takes your order before you're level with the food you're looking at. You're 4 paces behind the shit he's asking you about.
That's so true. I did that very thing tonight. I ordered I got a Subway for Graham, and I I'm just going to say it out loud. Service right now is a little bit below par. Places are not staffed as they should be. Management is kind of coming in and out and not really maybe trying to manage multiple stores. But this particular store was just like, these 2 guys were in there, great. They were friendly enough, but yeah, he in some ways, I was kind of an inconvenience because I was the only person in there, and probably they were about to just kind of tidy up and walk out the door. So he pretty much rushed me through everything, and I was like, wait a minute, I need to read my phone because I've got the order texted to me from my family. And so I think at one point, I think I ordered flatbread, And traditionally that's always grilled, just the nature of flatbread there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but he still asked me, so it made me pause. I said, well, I don't know, let me check my phone. He said, oh, you want it grilled? It'll make you sick. I don't know if he meant in taste or literally, but and I said, oh yeah, you're right. It is grilled. Yeah, grilled. The one that doesn't make you sick. So
Yeah.
it was just kind of odd experience. But I find myself expecting less when provided less, so it was almost like I've learned how to navigate that expectation of having to sit in a drive-through for another 10 minutes longer than I really needed to.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever that means. I mean, maybe it makes me less crazy because I'm not as tightly wound and I'm not, hey, I've got someplace to be. But it's still, is that where we intended to be at this point? The level of service. I don't know.
Yeah, you kind of learn to subject yourself to it. Like, like, okay, well, that's, if I can endure this and I bat a 70%, if one burger's wrong or it's kind of my order, I'll eat it.
Yeah.
You just kind of, yeah, I think we've all just kind of learned to roll with it.
Whatever happened to the, we were talking about, you were talking about visiting the grandparents' graves, and of course, one of the last times, unfortunately, I was at the graveside of our grandparents. It was probably Mamaw's funeral. I can't really remember that I have gone back to visit with mom and dad, but it's not something that I traditionally do anyway. It's visiting gravesides, just for whatever reason, that's not a way that I grieve and so or remember too much. So anyway, thinking about our family and how talking about food has always been so important, and leaving Mamaw's house without the handful of butter dishes and cottage cheese containers full of roast beef and macaroni salad. I mean, that's just how we grew up.
Oh, yeah. 7 or 8 butter dishes in there. The sick twist is when you really need the butter.
There was a recent meme I tried to pull up because it totally fit the day we were talking about this. And if I could remember, something about growing up in the Midwest is an understanding that 50% of the time of opening a blue bonnet, there's going to be chicken inside. So, for most of us, this is kind of what that hall looked like heading home from Mamaw's house. So.
Oh yeah, you got Cool Whip. If I'll just be honest, like when I was living alone, being a bachelor, I probably could get by on a plastic spoon I took home from Arby's and a Cool Whip bowl for like the rest of my life.
Like literally Cool Whip?
Yeah, just once it's emptied out, just keep reusing that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like that be your dinnerware. I gotcha.
Yeah. There'd be 7 or 8 of them in the fridge, and you learn almost like you hunted the butter down by how heavy it was.
Oh yeah.
That can't be the butter. That's got to be them green beans. That's heavy as hell. And then you get the butter, and the butter's the lightest because there's just a trace of butter.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and at first glance, when you're doing your grocery list or whatever, hey, do we need butter? No, it looks like we've got at least 1.5 in there. And then you find out that the other one you're looking at is the leftovers, and by golly, the one that's truly butter is almost gone. We've done that so many times. It's kind of a game with Emma. She'll open one. I mean, because we do it now. I don't have a lot of expensive Tupperware or even Gladware. I usually use butter bowls and things. And Emma will grab it out to eat leftovers or get butter, and she'll say, she'll open it up. Oh, just kidding. And so she'll do that 2 or 3 times, but that's pretty typical at our house. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Boy, it'd be a lot of leftovers too. Big old heavy tubs of stuff. You remember Mama's slices of cake and pie? You put them on a paper plate and it would just taco that plate. It's heavy.
I can remember dinners at Aunt Dixie's, and you know how her buffet area was her washer and dryer with big towels on it or whatever. And I think maybe even Steve would put like an extra piece of wood to kind of create this bar effect. And talk about desserts. I mean, it was never enough at a family holiday dinner to have maybe 2 pies and a cake. It just seemed like there was just as many desserts as there were, meal dishes or side dishes. And that's just what I remember. And fudge. I mean, some of the richest fudge, and somebody would go, but maybe dad or somebody would go to get dessert, and we would follow suit. You don't just go back and pick a dessert. You go back and you do a sampler plate of all the desserts. I mean, that's just how we ate,
Yeah, you leave their sweaty brow, your back's hurting.
Yeah.
I wish we could have filmed. I wish we could have filmed or recorded some of them post-meal conversations, because we all had to be in a partial food high or a coma.
Kind of a stupor. Yeah.
Yeah, there were probably conversations. We were probably having 5 different conversations, just taking turns talking, because we just ate so much food.
We probably started out yelling and talking really fast, and then not knowing we were loud, and then we hit that wall, and probably a lot of low murmuring and mumbling about different things, everybody on a different topic, and then you kind of level out by the time it's time to go home, and you're exhausted, and all you've done is sit in a chair or possibly gotten up to go to the bathroom, but that's typically all you've done there all evening. But you're exhausted when you leave. But I think that's a sign of a good family gathering, though. I mean, it's just what we know. It's how we grew up.
Oh yeah, I loved all that. And she, bless her heart, she did that with a kitchen that was just like a little kind of walkway off to the side. Remember? It wasn't.
She had no counter space.
Yeah. And she'd still get all that stuff ready.
That's funny you say that, because that never really dawned on me. Just now. If you remember the kind of setup she had in that old kitchen, and it wasn't that this house was that old, it's just that kitchen had never been updated to that. I mean, it was nice and tidy, but it was like the old solid state sink and 1 counter unit. And so, you had enough to do your dishwashing, but it really wasn't a counter space to prep food. I think she must have done everything on the table. And then you had to walk over to where her stove was, and it kind of stood alone. It may have had a little side table next to it. And it always had that steaming pressure cooker over there that you thought was going to blast a hole in the ceiling or take an eye out. It always seemed like kind of sketchy in that little kitchen for a while she was cooking.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, she managed. I mean, it was impressive, and we just kind of just sat around all over the house. I think towards the last few dinners, they would put picnic tables in the garage, and then that was kind of a bit better of an arrangement. But prior to that, it was just grab your plate of food and find a chair somewhere in the house.
And families now, at least I feel like our generation and even younger, couldn't imagine some of the gatherings and raising families in houses that size. But it was not, I mean, we still all sat at the table on Sunday, and that was a little, I mean, the table was in the kitchen, so it was big enough for a table. But if you can remember, once you're sitting down, if you had to get up to go to the bathroom, I mean, it was like all you could do to shimmy out. And, you know, most grown adults do not gather in small spaces like that anymore. I mean, you just don't do that anymore. We still have like a Christmas Eve party or gathering at my in-laws, and they have a very small home, and it's not, and we think nothing of it. We're standing around and we do like it's kind of like I'm thinking of like not a Rubik's Cube, but everybody has to like reposition if you want to get to the other side of the living room, or if you want to make your way down the hallway. If there's at least 10 people there, you have to kind of navigate it. And people don't tolerate that anymore. They get these bigger houses that they, you know, usually can't afford. That's another story, but it's just fascinating how we grew up and how things have changed, which makes me sound very old that I just said that, but.
That reminds me of a story. Did I ever tell you the sad story of a Christmas dinner we tried to throw one time when we lived in Texas?
No, I don't think so.
We had a lot of friends there, co-workers and guys that were still in the military while we were living there. I went down the list, and I invited everybody I could, and it was the first time ever that we were batting like 100% with people. Like every family and every couple that we asked said they could make it, and we had all the responsibilities divvied out. Like we had one guy bringing corn, another guy bringing rolls. Somebody was probably bringing cups and plates or something, and so I thought, man, it's gonna be awesome. So I go get a big 14-pound turkey. It might have been bigger than that. It was the biggest bastard they had. I mean, it looked like a turkey. It looked like a turkey ate a turkey. I mean, we had that. It took up the whole freezer, the whole fridge freezer. I think we had that and some pizza rolls or something tucked off to the side. And I called the local rental place, and I rented a stack of chairs and a big round table. And the guy delivered all of it, like on a Thursday, and the dinner was that weekend. And Eli got sick. Our son got sick, and so we had to cancel this big hoopla that we had planned. And I had to contact all those people and tell them that the dinner was off. And I called when the guy came to pick the stuff back up that he dropped off under my awning, it hadn't moved an inch because I didn't have to set it up. So I called the rental company. It's probably like a Seinfeld moment here. And I told him, I said, look, listen, you probably get people asking you this all the time, but I didn't use your stuff. Can I have a refund? Like I rented it from you, but the party didn't happen. Can I get my money back? And then they were like, no, we can't do that. You know, because I mean, they probably get knuckleheads all the time trying to save money, or, you know, whatever the case. And so the guy comes and picks up the stuff. So basically I paid this rental company to store some of their shit for them for the weekend. And then to top it all off, the worst thing, I couldn't pawn that big ass turkey off on anybody.
Oh God, don't tell me.
Oh
no.
I walked it out in both arms to the end of the driveway and dropped that big bastard right in the garbage. And here's the kicker: the garbage can was empty, so that didn't soften the blow any. Like I heard that big bastard hit the bottom of that can. I felt like I needed to like play taps or something.
Oh my God.
I mean, well, what are two people gonna do with I'm sure there's listeners probably thinking, "Oh, I'd have done this, this, and that." And no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. With Turkeyzilla, and there's just two of you. What are you gonna do with that? So I walked it out there and dropped that bastard in that garbage can. God, that was sickening. That was rough. So I paid the store bumblefuck Reynolds shit for them, and I threw the turkey in the trash because I didn't have any option. So that was a wild scene.
Oh, I'm sad about that. I'm so sad about that because I'm kind of a strange one about two things: throwing food away, especially of that volume, and thinking about others who could have eaten that. The other thing is it's hard for me to throw away anything that has eyes on it. Not that the turkey had eyes on it, but I'm just saying that seems sad to me. But also the day that you have to clean out like your child's bedroom and you throw away any kind of stuffed animals. I don't care if they're from the local free fair. Anything with eyes, better turn them away from me because I cannot put them in a trash can. They have to be gently packed away and then properly donated with the fantasy that they're going to someone who is just waiting for a big bundle of stuffed animals. But anyway, yeah, that's a sad story. We can't end on that, can we?
Well, we can segue into farts in the car. That was our last bullet point.
Oh, that's a hard one to talk about. We've covered quite a bit tonight, but I mean,
the most rancid. I think the meal that'll jack me up the most if it hits the spot just right is probably McDonald's breakfasts. I mean, you might as well put some biohazard tape around me. We went years ago. I was about, oh God, I don't know, 20, 21 years old. And me, two buddies, and my buddy's girlfriend went on about an hour and a half ride because we got this idea that we were going to find local racetracks that were, I guess, not local, but we were just going to visit different Saturday night speedways. And one of them was having a demolition derby. And we had gotten McDonald's that morning and then just kind of hung around a little bit for the day and then got in the car. I think it was like the same kind of car you'd get in high school, like a Grand Am or a Camaro or something. I don't know, just some 4-cylinder vehicle. I don't know much about cars. For years I thought a ball joint was a massage parlor. But anyway, whatever kind of car this dude had, we piled in there and went for a ride, and that McDonald's kicked in. It got to the point where I was just apologetic. Like, I got to roll the window down, guys. This is hideous. I mean, it stunk so bad you felt like you had to use mouthwash. It was hideous. That's probably the worst I've ever had. And then we get to the races and they were rained out. So I shit all over these jokers for about 2 hours for nothing.
I don't think I have any experiences to top that I'm willing to share, unless it's the one. I think we were traveling to, I mean, it could have been like Holiday World, or maybe it was like Spring Mill. This sounds more likely, Spring Mill. And it was you and I in the back, and Dad, I think, had that blue, like 95 Cutlass. It was a really nice one. I can't remember. It was old. I mean, it was older when he had it, but still, it was in really great condition. And it just, wherever we were going, of course, we left at the crack of dawn, and it couldn't have been cold out because I think our destination was some kind of like national park or state park rather. And we don't get but maybe 2 miles down the road. And, you know, that, let's just face it, Dad is known for sights, sounds, smells, and every other thing. And, you know, I'll just never forget that. And so you're sitting there and you know what's happened, and whoever's going to say it first, and then you hear Dad up there chuckling. Like as soon as anybody broaches the topic or acknowledge it, you know, he's trying to contain himself. And the other thing about it was, you know, you ask him to roll the window down and he just simply doesn't. And of course, he's got control because it's a, you know, it's a 2-door, I think. I think it was a 2-door Cutlass. And he had all the controls up front. So there we were trapped in the back. So anyway.
Yeah. Crank that heat up.
I had the experience, and maybe being a girl is supposed to be a little different because, you know, etiquette, maybe it's not supposed to be as funny for a girl, but when you grew up in our household and with our parents, and I mean, farts are just funny. You know, some families, farts are body functions that you don't really speak of, or they're discreetly taken care of in another room. Not our family. We're not that family. And so I'll never forget being kind of put in my place, or really I understood that when I had my first potluck roommate in college. And we definitely came from the opposite ends of those households. And so we had to navigate that as roommates. But my family was pretty free and easy with all of that stuff. So hers was not. I had to relearn some things.
And I feel like if you weren't raised to be open about farts, then you're missing out. I just couldn't imagine. I mean, like yeah, that's all I know, just to rip ass and laugh about it.
It is kind of nature's built-in funny button, or you know what I mean? It's like there's it doesn't cost anything. It's hard for me to probably in public talk about because I still have those reservations. It is reserved for the fun under the family roof, but I am not the family that shies away from farts.
No.
Thanks, Dad.
You got to be careful now. Once I hit 35 up into 40, I've been known to shit myself a time or two trying to show off.
No comment.
Yeah, we'll save those stories for another heartwarming episode of same a fart warning of I think this episode was pretty good. We were both kind of busy this week, kind of tired, but I think we hammered home another good one. We could probably hit the closing here, and I want to appreciate our fans out there. We're up to about 60-something views total on YouTube. We're on Spotify, iTunes podcast, all the major podcast outlets. We're on Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram. Pretty much just talking to people, telling good stories, laughing. I hope that we can help you guys escape for a little bit. You know, life can be busy and overwhelming at times. I'd like to say take care of our veterans, support our veterans, take care of your mental health. That's very important. And autism awareness. And for a song, I like to come up with a song. Let's say Randy Travis, Storms of Life. That's a good one. We'll go with that.
All right.
What do you have to say, Kellie, in closing?
Well, I want to say, please, everybody, stay safe. If you haven't already considered it or haven't done so, please consider getting a COVID vaccination. I believe in vaccinations, and I'm going to promote that as a way of staying out of the hospitals and staying as healthy as you can in the event you are exposed or your family is exposed to COVID. We're not through this yet, so hang in there. We're counting on each other to do the right thing. I want to shout out to my husband who was got through his first PET scan after a pretty treacherous round of cancer treatment, and good news is he's cancer free. And I wanted to just make sure everybody takes care of themselves. Get your preventative testing. If it's your time to get checked for certain things, make sure you know what those awareness signs are. We also then, seems like I wanted to say one more thing. Oh, I want you to support when possible and safely you can do so, support your outdoor music events. Just came from a local outdoor event. The local park system put on a Prince band that had a wonderful set. So go out and enjoy music when you can. And I would say if I had to give a song that I was really into recently, just had it in my car playing, it was Prince, and it's an oldie called Let's Work. So that's my sign off for today.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, Prince is the only guy that can wear hoop earrings and high heels and steal your woman from you.
That's right.
Yeah, he's a shit. I like some Prince. Everybody, we love you. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Everybody love each other and be good, and we'll talk to you next week. Love y'all. Thanks.
Bye.